Hello, my lovelies. I hope you are well. Let's start our first lesson in quarter two. So, the lesson called Introduction to the Matter. Let's start. What is the matter? Is anything that has mass and take up space. Your body is the matter, the air you breathe, the water you drink, and are also a matter, but the light and sound aren't a matter. So the only examples aren't matter, light and sound. What is the mass? Mass describes the amount of the matter in an object. Like what? Like when we compare between two balloons. The digital scales show the balloon filled with the compressed air has a greater mass than the other balloon because it compressed air add a mass to the balloon. So what is the measuring unit of the mass? The gram. Gram is the unit of mass. The object of the same size can be made up of different amount of matter. Example, a large sponge is about the same size of a brick, but the brick contains more matter. So let's talk about the weight. What is the weight? Is a measure of the gravitational force of an object. The greater the mass of an object, the greater the gravitational force on the object, and the greater weight will be. So, the mass of the greater the mass, the gravitational force increased, will be greater, and also the weight will be greater. The mass stays the same for an object, even when increased or decreased the gravitational force. So the mass can't affect by the gravitational force. The weight only affected. You would weight less on the moon than you do on the earth. Why? Because the moon has a less mass, therefore less gravitational force, so the the same mass in both places, but the weight decrease. So the mass can't affected by the force, the gravitational force, or it can't be affected by the weight of the volume. Volume is the amount of space that an object takes place or occupies. Like what? The object with a similar volume don't always have the same mass. So there is no relation between the volume and the mass. Like what? Like a balloon and a pulling pole. The same side have the same volume but very different masses. Also, the pulling pole contain a lot more mass than the balloon. Why? Because an object volume can be determined by a formula if the object has a well-defined shape. Like what? Like we have a law, the volume equal length by width by height. To calculate the volume of the measuring must be in the same unit. The length should be centimeter, width centimeter, height centimeter, until on meter, meter, meter. Okay. Now we have a volume. The liquid volume is measured with a beaker or a graduated cylinder by liter or a milliliter. Okay, and the 1 milliliter equal 1 centimeter cubic. The displacement of water in the graduated cylinder can be used to find the volume of irregular shape. Like what? We have an object, okay, the volume without the object 35. When we put the object will be 40. So the object volume equal 40 minus 35 equal 5. Let's talk about the density. The density is a measure of the amount of matter in a given volume. The object containing the same amount of mass can take place with different amount of space. The ball of feathers takes more space than the brick, but they have the same mass. So the density is the mass divided by volume. So the law density equal mass divided by volume. So the common unit of the density is gram per cubic centimeter. Okay, the water has a density 1 and the object with a density greater than 1 sink in water. So any object greater than 1 sink in water. Any object less than 1 float on the water. Now we finished our first lesson in the quarter, so if there are any question, please tell me.